everybody, and welcome. My name is Dr. Heather Carton. I am super excited to be on here again with you guys. I'm going to have an amazing guest be joining me. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Heather Carton. I am the co-owner of Carton Center for Wellness. I have practiced a little bit over 20 years alongside my husband. We have a very functional style of practice, which means we actually look for what the interference is happening in the body, and then we look to what we can do to actually help relieve that interference that is happening. I'm getting messages, my phone is sideways, so let me just double check that before we bring Dr. Debbie to the thing here. Pam, does it look like it's right to you or it looks upside down? Let me know before I go too far, because I can definitely turn my phone. So while we are getting ready to join us, we know that our brain is our most important organ. We know that our brain dictates the entire function of our body. So as we're getting Dr. Deb here to join us, again, this is meant to be shared. We want to bring value and information. Dr. Deb and I have known each other for a very long time. We have sorority sisters and met back in 1986, I think, and Dr. Deb can correct me on that. So go back a long ways. There she is. I have to turn my phone, right?
Yeah, well, I had to turn mine, so.
Okay, hold on a second, people. So just a second, Dr. Deb, as we get ready. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully this is right. This will make it funny. So give me just a second here before I ask about your day. I am going to go ahead and hit watch party because I'm trying to figure that out. So Dr. Deb and I met back in 1986, correct?
Yeah.
Yep, 1986. So as Dr. Deb gets ready to jump on here, I am trying to hit my the watch button. I haven't figured that out. So you're the smart one. You should be help me figure out the watch party thing. Anyway,
I'm technically challenged.
That's all right. So I just want to give you a little bit of information about Dr. Deb. Again, I've been blessed to be her friend for more than 30 years. She actually went to school at Baker, and she graduated from the University of Kansas Medical Society or Center. She is currently the associate professor for UT Health in San Antonio. She previously has practiced in Corpus Christi, a 12-year private practice there. She's also the past president of the Texas Neurology Society. She is the past chief of staff at Corpus Christi Medical Center. I could go on and on and on. She's also an amazing mother of two darling little girls. She has also been the state president of the Parkinson Association, I think, for the state of Texas. Like, the list is really long. She also is an avid workout person, and I love her site. So when we're done, jump over to Dr. Deb's Brain and Fitness so you can check out all the amazing information she has about brain health and fitness and why those two so much go together. Dr. Deb and I have been talking about the ketone conversation before it got super popular. Even before we had Instagram accounts, we were talking about the benefits. I know you specifically talked about the benefits of ketones and migraines, and we've been blessed to have you here at Low Carb KC for the last several years presenting on what a low carb ketogenic diet can do for migraines. So I'm going to fast forward here a little bit, and I'm just going to ask you some questions. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to jot them down here. So now everyone seems to know what a ketone or ketosis is, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you again, what is a ketone? What is ketosis? Because I know 5 years ago we had to take an hour to explain it. Now we can do it about a minute or two. So what are ketones and what is ketosis?
So ketones are, let's start with ketosis. So ketosis is the state of having ketones in your body. And ketones are an alternative fuel source for our body, but they also have other properties. They're signaling molecules, and they do a lot of other fun things in our body. But the main reason is that they're another fuel source for our body.
So we heard a lot in the news about fat, like people with fat loss. We're seeing lots of before and after pictures, but I know as a neurologist, it's much more than fat loss for you. So as a neurologist, and as a mom of two kiddos, and also as an elite athlete, tell us why it's important for you to have or teach this style of eating, living, why it's important for people to actually be on a ketogenic diet or be in ketosis at all. And then we're going to talk about BDNF, because that is a new hot topic popping around these days.
So ketones I think of as kind of a super fuel for our brain. It's actually what the brain prefers to use as a fuel, and it's cleaner. So it has less byproduct, it has less reactive oxygen species. Basically think of the toxic byproducts. So it's cleaner, it's more energy efficient, it allows the brain to just think better and function better. And it increases BDNF, which we'll be talking about shortly. So a lot of
You
cool
know,
things for the brain. It treats a lot of potential for treating a lot of conditions. We know that sugar is toxic for the brain, and ketones are just have a lot of information out there that's showing some benefit for a lot of diseases, neurological diseases, which is really cool. I mean, it's all in literature, mostly in animals, but we're getting more and more human studies out there.
so absolutely. So let's just jump right there, because what I'm hearing you say is that ketone is an energy source our body can make. I'm hearing you say it's a more efficient or an alternative energy source we can use when the brain maybe have not the ability to uptake glucose, or maybe
Right.
doesn't have glucose readily available. It can actually
Right.
use it, as you said, a super fuel. So again, just much more than fat loss. And again, talking about your primary focus, which is neurology. Again, we're hearing a lot about this. You and I heard from Dr. Ken Ford about BDNF. We heard from some other leading thought leaders, Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, BDNF. And I think now people have kind of started to understand this ketone conversation. What next? Why BDNF? What's the big deal? And how does that correspond to neuroplasticity, which is my favorite word almost. Well, I would say my favorite word. I love that word, neuroplasticity.
It's a fancy word. So BDNF is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And the way I think of it is the fertilizer for our brain.
I love that.
So it's the miracle grow for our brain, and it helps our neurons grow. It helps them be stronger. And BDNF is low in diseases like Alzheimer's and in depression and other neurodegenerative diseases. And so increasing that, we need BDNF to help the neuron survive and for memory, for learning, and like you said, for neuroplasticity. It allows our body to take the stress and kind of adjust to it and move on. So some cool stuff with BDNF. We're learning more and more about it.
So what would you say is one of the, because again, there's 4 or 5 ways, I know different ways, how we get depleted of BDNF, and then how do we actually replenish it, kind of like a fuel source again for our brain. So how do we actually find ourselves in a depleted mode where we don't have enough of this super enzyme, the super protein to actually help our brain respond and repair? And then what can we do to actually increase that level of BDNF?
So BDNF is decreased, like I said, in diseases like Alzheimer's and depression. But stress is a big one that decreases BDNF, sugars, but also lack of sleep, all can cause decreased amount of BDNF. And then things that increase BDNF, my favorite thing is exercise. Exercise is a very strong way of increasing BDNF. Sleep. Sleep allows your brain to restore, and it helps to increase the BDNF. And then ketones have actually been shown to increase the amount of BDNF. So some cool stuff. And then exercise increases the brain uptake of ketones, which then increases even more BDNF. So it's kind of double whammy for you there.
That's awesome. So what I'm hearing you say, I just want to repeat it because sometimes
Sure, please.
I know I talk fast, but so Lynette, Zeta to Alpha, Lynette Hessong is saying hello to you. Lots of other people, Monica's saying hello. So thank you guys for joining us. And us Zeta ladies are 80s ladies. So we're getting close to that 50 and over state. So we're definitely thinking about brain health. So BDNF is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's kind of miracle grow for our brain. I love that. I'm going to quote that. I'm going to use it as fertilizer for our brain. So ketones actually increase the uptake of BDNF in the brain specifically, right? And exercise can definitely increase that. Things like you said, unhealthy things like lack of sleep. And I also saw that even over mental stimulation, so that would be lack of sleep, or over alcohol, processed sugars, those type of things, even low omega oils and vitamin D. I know you've got a lot of literature about omega oils increasing healthy brain activity. So where does that neuroplasticity fit in to the whole ketone BDNF conversation?
Well, I mean, I think the more that we have, the more functional, I mean, BDNF improves our brain, right? And so when it's low, we're more likely to be stressed. We're more likely to get depression, which means that we're more likely to advance on to some cognitive impairment in the future. And so anything that we can do to increase the BDNF, thus you're going to have better resistance in our brain to stress. It's going to improve the neurons in our brain. help your memory, help with learning, and then hopefully help to prevent our brain from going on to having other neurological diseases. Now, we can't say that it's the only thing that's going to help, but it sure couldn't hurt, right? So things that decrease our, increase our stress and lack of sleep, all have been shown to increase the amount of brain atrophy that we see as we age.
So I did hear something interesting on your Dr. Deb Brain and Fitness page, that we lose 1.9% of our brain size every 10 years. So we're seeing, when we're actually doing these things like you shared, like better sleep, better moods, exercising, getting rid of the sugar, having more healthy fats, are we seeing that actually reverse or slow down that shrinking process of the aging brain? And what age does that really start at? Because I did watch that video, but I couldn't see, does it start at 20? Does it start at 50?
Well, I think even some of say we start losing a lot of our memory even at the age of 40?
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
not
exactly.
me.
Yeah, no. And our brain starts to shrink. But what we can do is studies have shown that exercise can actually improve the volume of our brain, and specifically the area hippocampus, which is involved with our memory. And so we can improve some of that, some of the natural aging related atrophy of our brain, by doing things like exercise.
That is so exciting. And I know at the last minute I said, Deb, we have to talk about this. I'm getting so many questions about this because, again, you and I have we've talked about this low carb zone ketogenic diet for a long time. We used to not be cool. Now we're kind of the cool kids. We're talking about it. Hopefully everybody agrees we're the cool kids out there. But now I love that we're taking it to that next level about reversing or slowing down the aging brain. Are we seeing this with PTSD, concussions? I know you mentioned Parkinson's, but is it true for all neurological diseases like ALS, not just broken brains, but things that have been concussions, CTEs, all those type of injuries that people are experiencing?
So, there's a lot of interest, obviously, as you know, in concussion, brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder. Hasn't been as much about ALS, but I have some colleagues that are talking to me about neuropathies. We're trying to look into that. That's something that we're looking at with some of my colleagues here, but obviously not a lot in the literature right now on those subjects specifically. But just a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, anything we can do to help protect our brain, let's do it. And that's kind of my attitude. And the more that we can do to help our brains, prevent us from having chronic diseases, even something as headaches, can improve with exercise and ketogenic diets. So.
I love that. I know that on Dr. Deb's Brain Fitness, it's from the inside out, but I also want to give a shout out. And I saw kiddos today because we don't have school again because it's cold. Oh. Children are not wearing helmets. I'm taking a sidebar. So I still see teenagers riding bicycles, longboards, people still not wearing helmets, motorcycle accidents, people still not wearing helmets. So I just wanted to say, I don't know why that stimulated my brain, but no, we're talking about you and how much that can actually help improve. So if somebody does have a head injury, yes, whether it be a concussion or something more drastic, or maybe it just happens to be I just want to say maybe a brain imbalance where it's depression or anxiety, things like that. Are we seeing the increase in BDNF also helping that as we see those moods elevate or that healing of like you said, the concussion, this cool stuff's going on out there?
Yeah, I'm not able to quote the literature, what's out there exactly with that, but I know that from just talking to people that there definitely, it correlates with the depression is improved with exercise and also with the ketogenic diet and with ketones, and their thinking is clearer, their focus is better. What does that correlate in studies? I couldn't tell you, but I know from personal experience that a lot of people have been noticing that. So, and that's, all we can do is take people's, what they have told us and chalk it up and of what 10 or 15 or 100 people that we've talked to at low carb KC or whatever that has depression that we got better.
Yeah, it was a large amount. I'm gonna add a couple more. So I also had on that list, when I had looked it up, they said intermittent fasting and also brain stimulation, things like puzzles. So I did a puzzle today in preparing for this, getting my mind away from the computer and doing a puzzle. So they're even seeing like things like, why would intermittent fasting actually increase the body's ability to produce more BDNF or to have the ketones push up the ability to uptake the BDNF?
Well, you're more of an expert on intermittent fasting than I am, but I mean, I think just anytime that we increase the amount of ketones in our body, and then also it's our time for our body to heal when you're fasting, right? And so we're able to stop getting the toxins out of our systems while you're intermittent fasting. It's going to help with your telomeres and or help with our DNA and our genes and everything else. So, but you're obviously the expert on that. So I don't know I don't know all the literature on that, but I can just assume that's what's going on. But
I'm just hosting, but I will just add on to that. So when we're not digesting food, because it's really a 4-hour process from the time we eat something to the time our nervous system actually calms down from processing the 30 players in digestion. And that's with normal digestion, which a lot of people don't have, is that we see that when you're not feeding, then the body can go out and work on the immune system. It can work on the brain and things like that. When I was Googling last night, so I'm going to take a sidebar, I was Googling BDNF. I saw a lot of information coming up on chronic pain. I know that invisible pain, chronic pain is just such an misunderstood concept in a lot of people in a lot of different ways, whether it's fibromyalgia, whether it's pain from cancer, whether it's pain with CRPS, whether it's amputation pain. So how do we see that actually increasing or calming down the brain to actually help lower that pain? Or is that in the hippocampus again? Is it somewhere in the midbrain or mesencephalon, or where is that happening at?
And I really couldn't tell you.
Sorry, I asked
that's
the question.
okay. You got me on that one. I haven't done my research on that specifically, but I know I've been looking at some of that stuff with pain and to see where that would take us, because that's going to be interesting. And so you stumped me there. I didn't get a warning on that one. So, but
that's okay.
What did you see some stuff? You tell me what you think with your research, because you probably know, you looked at it. So tell me what you learned.
Well, we know our pain centers in our brain, and we know we're just full of a bunch of different highways from our head to our toes. And they were saying that when the beta-hydroxybutyrate is introduced, it increases the activity of the BDNF, which causes that cascade to calm down the interleukins. So the pain sensitivity is actually much less. So it's not that heightened awareness or super sensitive. Just like with neuropathy, we know it's a B6 deficiency. B6 is so important for GABA and serotonin and all those other things involved there. So I know there's a lot of neurotransmitters there, but that's just some of the stuff I saw. I know that you do a lot more reading than I do, and you're just in that space more than I am. So I just was excited, and I do want to thank you for your time today. I said I'd only keep you 15 minutes. I know you're just getting home from work as I am, and you got to feed the girls, and I got the boys in there. No school again here in Kansas, Dr. Deb. Can you believe it? No
well, it was 60 degrees today here in Texas. It's going to be down to 35 tomorrow. So, we got a cold front. It's going to be cold. We're going to have our parkers out. We probably won't have school either because it's 35 degrees.
Well, I do want to thank you for joining us tonight. I do feel like this is just like the next hottest topic, following ketones, following beta-hydroxybutyrate. And, we talk a lot about neuroplasticity in our clinic, and it can be so many different ways. So I would just, I'm going to ask you to give us just one tip. And again, I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This is meant to be shared. Jackie Bowden is on here as well. So our Zeta sister Jackie is on there. But you guys, this is meant to be shared. This is, two friends talking, trying to be a little clinical here. But I thought it was so important to hear from a neurologist, someone who's studied this information about our brains for a very long time. Our brain controls our hunger. It controls the thermostat of our body. We have all the pituitary controlling all the thyroid activity, our adrenal activity, our gonad and hormonal activity. So much stuff happens in our brain. And I know as we start to age and we hit that 50+ mark, we really start thinking, how do I do this? How do I slow down the shrinkage? How do I slow down the aging process? And I know there's so much amazing information there about we're finding out with dementia, we're finding out with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, so much information. I know you are in that space. So I'd love to have you back on a couple weeks and talk more about it. Also, let us know where we can find you on social media. Not your home address.
So Dr. Deb Brain and Fitness over on Facebook. And so I post some stuff up there. I haven't been posting a lot recently, but I'll be posting more. But I just, what I would like to stress is just that, our brain is the most important organ. My cardiology colleagues would probably say otherwise, but if you don't have a good brain, what's the point, right? And I think the more that we improve our brain by natural measures, by, you know, what we put into our body and how we use our body is the most important thing we can do for our brain. And so really optimizing our activity, our brain, our mental activity, our physical activity, and what we're putting in our body. And now more than ever, we've learned so much more about nutrition and how important that good healthy fats are, and getting low carb, getting off the carbs and the processed foods, and increasing the healthy fats, and even going ketogenic is just so good for the brain. And the more that we can do to help our brain and prevent all these neurological diseases and chronic diseases, let's do it. And I'm here to help.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you two last questions here personally.
Sure.
How many days a week do you exercise?
5 to 7.
And what's your favorite exercise to do?
Well, you know, I do a lot of different things. I like to lift weights, but then if I have to do a cardio activity, I like to kickboxing. I was a martial art, you know, taekwondo for many years, and so martial arts are in my blood.
Don't let her say she's a bad.
Yeah.
I know the word bad boss neurologist. I'll say.
So if I could punch air and kick air, that's what I like to do. And when I can't do that, I like to lift weights. But whatever I can do to keep me moving, it's my stress relief, it's my antidepressant, all built up in one. So
I love that. And what is your favorite flavor of Keto OS Max or Nat?
So right now I am doing the sweet tart is my favorite right now. But, you know, I get in spurts. I still love the chocolate swirl, but Max Heart Tart still is my favorite right now. Blue Ocean's pretty good too.
Yeah, I have the Heart Tart in warm water today. I love the fairy dust as well. I don't know what it is. It just tastes like sugar plums dancing in my head. So I love the Heart Tart as well. So thank you again so much for joining us. You guys hop over to Dr. Deb's Brain and Fitness for more information on how you can keep your brain healthy. Like she said, it's the most important organ. And if we can find ways now to use Fertilizer, Miracle-Gro, other ways to actually help preserve our brain, slow down the aging process, slow down the shrinking process, and increase our memory as we start to age. Because I think the game of life is really just longevity, gratitude, attitude, and having the physical body that you want so you can enjoy life. So big hearts to you. You're getting lots and lots of hearts out there. So thank you again for joining us, and please share this information. Our brain, again, is the most important organ. If you've had someone ever suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia or Parkinson's or anxiety or depression or ADD or ADHD, it's all the same umbrella. We have to feed the brain healthy. And just to sum up what Dr. Deb said, exercise is one of the best medicines. Quit the processed sugar. There's just no need for it. Mental stimulation, we talked about puzzles and games, and even just, you know, fun things like kickboxing does so much for your brain and help with that. Eating healthy fats and oils, also get more sunshine and sleep, you said, and then drink your ketones every day.
Yep.
So thank you again for joining us. We love having you here, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Yeah, bye-bye.